different. You know, they might not get the big presents that they used to, and we might do little things. It is a worrying time. You know, you think about, we've got pets at home, you know, we have a chameleon that has its tank on 24/7. You know, you think even things like that, you're thinking, oh my goodness, that's just more pennies going down the pan.
Things that you never thought would really be an issue.
Yeah, things you'd never have to worry about.
And even as they take in the spectacle of the lights, many here fear this winter will bring much darker times.
I have a meter, and it used to say, you know, if I put £10 on, it was going to say I had 6 days, and now it's down to 4.2, and each week it's getting less and less that my money buys, or your electric's cut off and there's nothing you can do about it. I think it's a terrifying winter ahead for everybody.
And this 6-mile stretch of promenade is no longer paved with gold, say some businesses who've already noticed people have less cash to spend. How important are the illuminations to you?
They're very important. These are what we wait for, the illuminations, especially the weekends and especially the fireworks. They really do make a difference to our season.
Among the rush of visitors, many who want the government to set out a clearer path to bring down energy bills.
I think it's a bit ridiculous, to be honest. I think in other countries they have asked the energy companies to absorb it themselves.
The energy companies seem to make a lot of money, and we're struggling less.
It's not fair.
What do you think of them going up?
It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. It's not. We're happy in terms of it's not going to make a massive difference to our life, but it is ridiculous.
But for this night at least, the illuminations are providing some relief, brightening up a town where some fear they'll struggle to keep the lights on at home. Well, I'm joined now by Lynn Williams, leader of Blackpool Council. Good morning, Lynn.
Good morning.
A big day for Blackpool. How important is the switch on tonight?
It's one of the biggest evenings of the year for Blackpool. So, you know, and I'm sure tonight will be another fantastic evening for the town.
And are you seeing the costs of holding the illuminations going up this year? We've talked so much about rising gas and electricity prices. It must be getting more expensive to do this.
Yes, but what we've done over the last 20 years, you know, is work towards reducing all that cost. So 95% LED light bulbs, over 1 million LED light bulbs, renewable energy. So that means over the last 20 years we've been able to reduce the energy costs by 75%. So this year, energy costs for the illuminations will cost about 200,000. We will remain within budget. There will be a bit of an increase, but in terms we can spend less on other materials to ensure that the lights continue to shine brightly all the way through to January.
And more generally, if we think about the impact that rising inflation is having on people's pockets and having less money to spend, have you seen a change in the number of visitors coming to Blackpool at all? It's
been fantastic this year, after the year, you know, the amazing year that we had last year, to see people still coming to Blackpool. And, you know, we understand that this, and to try and support our businesses, the hospitality, tourism industry, we're really proud that we run a number of free events. So with hundreds of thousands only a couple of weeks ago came to the air show weekend. We've got World Championship fireworks, another free event over 4 nights. We've got Light Pool Festival, and where we're stood now will be our Christmas Spectacular again, which, you know, will ensure that you know, there's lots of free stuff for families, you know, for our families and visitors alike over Christmas.
You mentioned free stuff there. The event that we came to earlier in the week was free. A lot of people were really enjoying the fact that they could do that at the end of the summer holidays. Do you worry about the impact? We hear that, you know, there could be a recession into next year. Do you worry about the impact that that could have on a town like this?
Of course, but what you know, we work towards ensuring doing all that we can so that we have those free events and to make, you know, people love Blackpool. Blackpool means a lot, and to a great number of people, lots of different reasons, a great sentimentality of it. And, you know, the illuminations is the biggest, greatest free outdoor light show. And each year we modernise it and ensure that there's something new and exciting so that it does attract people and that we're able to support our businesses by generating. So, you know, during the illuminations period, about 10 million people will visit Blackpool, and that generates income of about 300 million. So you can see the significance, the importance to the town of the illuminations for us. So, and, you know, we fully expect that to be the same this year.
Thank you very much for coming along, Lynn. Lots of people will, of course, be very excited about tonight. The illuminations run until early January. Almost impossible to think about now, but they're even going all the way through the Christmas holidays.
Hannah, for the moment, thank you very much.
Headlines coming up.
The greatest classical music festival. Curated by us,
enjoyed by you. There's nothing quite like the BBC Proms. Fridays and Sundays on 4 and iPlayer.
Good morning. Welcome to Breakfast with Charlie State and Naga Manchetti.
Celebrating the life and legacy of our friend and colleague Bill Turnbull after his death at the age of 66.
Hello, this is Breakfast with Sean Williams and Bill Turnbull.
Bill became one of the nation's most loved broadcasters, presenting Breakfast for 15 years. We'll talk to his former sofa partners later on the programme.
We'll hear how Bill's prostate cancer campaigning saved lives and encouraged thousands of men to come forward for testing.
We'll also hear about Bill's passions. His football team, Wycombe Wanderers, are at their Adams Park ground this morning, which became, over the last 2 decades, like a second home from home for Bill, where he became such good friends with the fans, the players and the manager. We'll speak to him at 8:30.
And I'll be here to take a look at the weather, which will still be dry and sunny and warm for some of you this weekend, but there's a greater chance of some heavy and thundery rain around, especially in the west. I'll have all the details right here on Breakfast.
Good morning. It's Friday the 2nd of September. Tributes have been coming in for our friend and our colleague, Bill Turnbull, who has died at the age of 66.
Bill presented here on Breakfast for 15 years. It was in 2017 when he revealed he'd been diagnosed with advanced prostate cancer, and he went on to encourage other men to get themselves checked out.
Bill's been remembered by those who knew him as a wonderful friend, great fun and an incredible talent. Graham Satchell has more.
Oh, no time code. Phil.
Bill Turnbull and Sean Williams with less than a minute to go before the start of another programme.
Thank you.
Oh, 15?
Bill checking everything to make sure it's perfect.
He was just great to work with. You know, you don't get up at 3:30 in the morning for 11 years to sit next to somebody you don't like, and we got on really, really well.
Hello, this is Breakfast with Sean Williams and Bill Turnbull.
The St Paul's protesters, you know, it felt like a family. It felt like a family on set, and the Breakfast viewers felt like family to us.
Hello, good morning. This is Breakfast
with Louise Minchin
and Sean Williams.
Over the years, Bill had 14 so-called TV wives. All of them say the same things. First, that Bill was funny, always
Friday, the
funny.
27th of April.
He had a really mischievous sense of humour.
It's a sign of your immense importance that you have so many people from the studio.
Man, I like immense. I don't even know what that word meant.
You need Bill as part of your entourage.
I'm not saying words like that. I don't. He ain't gonna confuse me all day.
I'll be your vocabularist.
Yeah.
Some little quirk would happen, and you'd see Bill start to laugh.
That's another one. He 2 for 2. Vocabularist.
Yeah.
What is that? I've never heard that mistake.
Walking thesaurus.
Oh my goodness, on fire! Bill is on fire, man.
And you knew that as soon as Bill started to laugh, you were not going to be able to hold it together.
Oh, he just put is. He just put is on the back of everything.
Exactly.
You've cracked the secret.
I got nothing. I thought I had something.
You're the best guestist we've had.
Guestist. Oh.
And some of my fondest moments of working with Bill were just giggling uncontrollably.
He was a brilliant, talented, insightful, sharp-eyed journalist, but at the heart of him was this really amusing, funny person that I absolutely adored working with. We're meant to be hearing the sound of this.
Hearing the sound of mosquitoes, but they've decided they're going to stay in bed this morning.
I mean, the day I let the mosquitoes out, for example, I mean, what were we doing even having mosquitoes on the sofa? He let himself be bitten by the mosquitoes. And then what do you do if you do get bitten? We've only got about... Go on. What if you do get bitten? What's your advice? Oh, no!
Don't do that. That's a really bad idea.
So there you are, you know, somebody who's interviewed Prime Minister, letting himself be bitten live on national television by mosquitoes. He enjoyed the versatility of being able to do everything that you threw at him.
He loved the dressing up for children and leaves. He loved doing Strictly. All the spangles and the fake tan, and we used to joke about it, but he just loved that. We had a lot of laughs, and I am really going to miss that.
George Bush is walking an environmental tightrope.
Bill had a long career as a foreign correspondent. By the time he came to Breakfast TV, he was hugely experienced and extremely rigorous. He expected high standards from everyone.
He was an absolute stickler for accuracy, both in grammar and in spelling as well. And I think he called it grammar hammer.
It's to try to, not to try and.
For example, on the banned list are legendary, iconic, unique, for example.
Don't use the word iconic connected to anything. That's a cliche. He mentored everybody on the programme. He was like the father of BBC Breakfast.
And I am definitely a better journalist because I sat next to him with that rigour for hours and hours.
He taught me everything. He taught so many of us everything about journalism and about television and about being a decent person in this industry. He was kind and compassionate and wise and a great friend, and I loved every minute of being with him, and we're really going to miss him.
When Bill was diagnosed with prostate cancer in 2018, it was a devastating blow. He was an intensely private man, but spoke out publicly, urging other men to get themselves checked.
I don't think there are many people in this world who can change lives, save lives by what they say, and he did that, and I think that is an incredible legacy. And I know there'll be people, you know, who'll be waking up tomorrow morning safe and well because of him, and that's an incredibly generous thing to have done.
Come on.
Saving other men's lives was a remarkable final act for a good man who lived an extraordinary life.
I'll remember 30 years of friendship and support and laughter. What you saw on the telly was how he was. Kind, gentle, funny, clever. Just a lovely bloke, really, and I'll miss him.
We've got former Breakfast presenter Sian Williams, you were hearing there, who shared this sofa, well, not this exact one.
One very much like
one incarnation of the sofa. How long were you together?
11 years, actually. Long time, very long time. Bill and I were on weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, to start with. And that was when it was on the BBC News channel. At the weekends, and then it went on to BBC Two, and then it went on to BBC One, and then we were both main presenters on the big red sofa for a long time. Yeah, 11 years together, and we'd gone back actually 30 years. We first met one another 30 years ago. I was a Radio 4 producer, and I was sent out to Arkansas in the States to cover the presidential campaign of Bill Clinton. And he was the Washington correspondent. So we were put together for the first time. Neither of us knew one another. And the very first evening, we were sitting having dinner in a restaurant, and I collapsed for some reason, call it jet lag, whatever. So the first night I spent with Bill Turnbull, that doesn't sound right, but was in ER, was in you know, an emergency.
Didn't he vow to keep that a secret?
He vowed to keep that a secret for 25 years. And he did. And he did. And he said on the way back, we were flying back to the UK, and he said, it'd be great to work again. Do not pull another stunt like that. And I said, keep it a secret, would you? And he said, yeah, I'll keep it a secret. And he didn't mention it. And I guess that was him, really. He was a very loyal friend and a very supportive friend. And when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, he was one of the first to reach out and say he was thinking of me and connected with me in that way. And then when he was diagnosed with prostate cancer, we did an interview together for the Radio Times where he talked really openly about having things going on in his body with his bones aching and not quite knowing what was going on and wishing that he had gone to see the doctor sooner. And being that honest about his cancer, it just meant so many people got themselves checked who wouldn't ordinarily.
Just had an email this morning.
Just amazing.
Yeah, just had an email this morning saying, I've booked, I'm seeing the doctor today at 11 o'clock. A gentleman's just emailed him because he's still having that effect.
I don't think he was aware. And, you know, when we did that interview, he was saying, oh, I'm not sure about this, I'm not sure about it, because, you know, he was a private man. But what he did changed lives, saved lives, and I think, you know, that I know we've heard it this morning on this programme, which actually is such a lovely tribute. And we're all thinking of Ceci and the kids this morning. And I don't know whether you're watching Ceci because, you know, this must be a very tough time for you. But from everybody who loved Bill, the viewers and his breakfast family and his friends, you know, we are thinking of you because it's such a difficult time for them. We all knew it was coming, and Bill and I texted a few weeks ago, but somehow, even if you know it's coming, you're not prepared, and it's like he's still here. It's like I can't quite believe that he's not here, and yeah, it's, as they say, it's like he's popped into another room, that he hasn't really gone.
Yeah, and Sian, I mean, it's funny you say that because a lot of the people who are in our ears this morning, our directors, the people who work on the show, are all people who, you know, work with him just like you did for years and years. And so everyone's doing that thing. And what you said about, of course, his family is spot on. And what we're trying to do this morning very much is to look at all parts of his life. Now, can I just ask you, you were talking about you'd kept in touch with him until very recently. And I was saying earlier on, I've had lots of people just stop me in the street sometimes and say, just how's Bill doing? You know, because he was so involved in people's lives just from being here every morning, that thing. And people wanted to know. No, I didn't know, especially most recently, how things were. You did have contact with him very recently, didn't you?
Yeah, but you know what? He was unfailingly positive the whole way through. So every time he talked about how he was, and typical of the man, actually, this is typical of Bill, he contacted me to offer condolences on the recent death of my father. So, and I said, how are you? And that's when he was speaking about having another round of chemotherapy, and he was hoping to go back on, you know, to Classic FM because he was great on that show, and I know that many listeners miss him hugely there. And there was always this, you know, going for the next thing and going for the next thing. And he kept an optimism and a hope around him, which was inspiring. And there was an editor of this programme who we'll all remember called Alison Ford, who died of cancer. And I remember her saying to us, I don't want to die dying. And he said what he thought. He didn't want to die dying. He wanted to celebrate life. He wanted to make the most of every little last bit of it and put all the sort of joy and fun and optimism and hope and laughter that we all knew of Bill. He wanted to put that into every moment of his life. You know, devoted to his family, devoted, as we've seen Mike saying, to Wycombe Wanderers, devoted to his bees. Now, Daddy Wallace saying he convinced him to get a dog. He convinced me to get a dog. You know, he had a very full life, which he was passionate about, and it was great to see that enthusiasm and that love for life, even in the most difficult of times, I think. He was an extraordinary man, extraordinary legacy. He'll be loving all this, I tell you.
Oh, I don't, you know,
a programme about him.
Yeah, he always, you know, the great thing about Bill, I think, and, you know, we all try to do it, it's the audience that matters.
Yeah.
He never, ever forgot that the audience is key. No. What we do is we serve the audience. We are facilitators of stories, never the story.
We're custodians of this sofa
this
for
great
however
sofa.
long we're here. And actually, that was the thing about him, is that he was never starry. And, you know, what we've heard this morning is everybody saying you could walk up to him and he was like a friend, because he was the person you saw on the sofa, was the person that Bill was. He was very approachable, he was very warm, he was a brilliant journalist. Never forget that.
No.
Absolutely brilliant journalist. And, yeah, very warm, and a commitment and a loyalty to the viewers. He never felt bigger than the programme. He was interested in what the viewers had to say, even when sometimes they were quite harsh, which, as we know, you
Happens.
can be. But, you know, he was, he was very respectful, I guess, and knew what a responsibility it was to sit here in the morning and to wake up with people, I guess.
That thing about, I've heard a few people mentioning it, and we all know it doing this job, is that thing about tone. and the ability to sit down early in the morning in this place, and other people do it too elsewhere, and kind of just get it right. And he had the ability to do it almost always to get it right. And a lot of us, plenty of us have been there and kind of got it wrong, and you know it in yourself. Maybe you have to readjust. He had a knack and a skill of doing that, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, we used to call it the handbrake turn or the face fall. You know, when you're talking about something, because the thing about breakfast is, of course, that we cover everything, don't we? And the sad and the happy and the funny and the serious, it's all together in more than 3 hours. But what that means is you've got to navigate quite a lot of difficult turns, and sometimes it felt like it could feel like a bit of a screeching turn over there when you go from a serious story to a funny story, or vice versa. And he used to call it the face fall as well, when you're talking about a funny story and then you realise the next story coming up is not so funny, you've got to tone your face down a little bit. But navigating those, you're right, navigating those turns are never easy. But, you know, I think it's that's what life is, isn't it? I mean, it's just, it's complex and difficult and lots of stuff held together, and I think he was able to bring that. He was able to hold that together.
Can you explain?
The
this
hands business.
The hands business.
Okay.
You did it all the time before you went on air, didn't you? This was your thing, because you do end up having a thing with your on a presenter partner.
Yeah, that was a thing. It seems ludicrous.
How on earth did that come about?
So I'd been told somewhere, or we'd been told somewhere that the great Andrew Marr, before this is if he's watching, he's probably saying, no, I never used to do that. Used to sort of just do this before he went on air, you know, just to sort of
limber up a bit.
Yeah, just to get himself ready. And I said, I think it could work for us, Billy. I think it could work for us. So we tried it, and so it went like that. And then every time we came on air, we'd hear the 15 countdown from the gallery, from the director upstairs, and we go 15, and then we'd have a little way like that together, and then we were off, you know, and it was an 8 o'clock coffee. We had our little routines. You know, he always bought me chocolate for my birthday. I always bought him a tie for his. You know, just phrases for, I don't know, if we were interviewing somebody, for example, and one of us had run out of things to say because the interview had extended a little too long, the key phrase was the other one saying, "What's next for you?"
The generic question.
The generic, what's next for you? And that was the sort of key for somebody else to come in and ask another one to help the other out. And I think the key about a team is that you know each other's strengths and weaknesses, and you're there for one another. And we had each other's backs. And it was never, ever a competitive relationship. It was, you know, I mean, breakfast is a team. It's a team of people. It's very collaborative, and it only works if it is that. And I think I felt like he was a great person to be part of a team with. I mean, I loved it.
What's next for you, Sean?
You run out of things to say.
We're finished. It's the director, Tim. You know our director, Tim.
Oh, he's harsh.
He's telling us. He's
calmed
saying
down
we would
years.
like to carry on talking. He's telling us.
Yeah,
now.
well,
it's just,
perhaps
that's how it
off-air.
works.
Well, listen, thank you so much for inviting me back and to pay tribute to a man who I know, you know, people would be waking up this morning and will be really sad. But if we can remember all the lovely things about him.
That's what we're doing.
And the smiles he brought to people's faces, and the legacy he leaves as well with people. And
well, that's something we're going to talk
cancer.
a lot more about. Lovely seeing you here.
And
thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
Well, despite Bill's own diagnosis in 2017, cancer experts believe that he saved lives and encouraged thousands and thousands of men to come forward for prostate testing because of his dedicated campaigning.
So he became a trustee for prostate cancer charity. Our medical editor, Fergus Walsh, looks back at the importance of Bill's work.
Every week, around 1,000 men in the UK are told they have prostate cancer. Bill Turnbull was diagnosed in late 2017. Like many men, he'd put off getting symptoms checked out.
I prided myself on the fact that I had not been to see my GP for 4 years. I was not aware that something, in fact, was going rather wrong inside me. I was getting pains in my legs and my hips particularly, and they would come and go, and I thought, this is old age.
Finally, he went for a checkup.
He said, well, I'm just going to give you a blood test, just a sort of MOT, if you like, just to check a few things out. The next morning, he called me and asked me to come in pretty quickly. And the doctor said, it's fairly clear from this that you have advanced prostate cancer and that it has spread to the bone. I thought, now I've got to deal with the future, or having much less of a future than I thought I had.
In the place set there.
Oh, that's
Bill revealed his diagnosis in a celebrity edition of the Great British Bake Off in aid of the charity Stand Up to Cancer, explaining why you shouldn't delay getting symptoms checked out.
If I'd had a test a few years ago, we would have diagnosed it earlier, knocked it on the head earlier, and my survival possibilities would be a lot better.
His openness about his cancer had an immediate and significant effect. Cancer charities say it will have saved many lives.
Bill has made a profound impact on raising awareness of prostate cancer. When he so openly and candidly talked about his diagnosis in 2018, the following year we saw an increase in 20% of referrals into the NHS. And our own helpline, in fact, had 200% increase in people making calls. So he has worked with us to campaign tirelessly to make sure that men understand about their risk of prostate cancer and what they can do about it. He has literally helped save thousands of lives.
The actor and writer Stephen Fry revealed his prostate cancer diagnosis around the same time. His was caught early.
Cancer, I've got cancer. I went around.
The Turnbull and Fry effect led to many men getting their cancer diagnosed sooner.
Hello.
Hi, Bill.
Hi, how are you? Nice to meet you.
Lovely to meet you.
All right.
Yes,
Carl Skinner went for tests as a result of seeing Bill on TV. His prostate cancer was caught before it was too late, and he responded well to treatment. Carl and his daughter Lisa met Bill in person in 2018.
I think we just feel hugely indebted to you. So
I don't think you should, but thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks very much. It was just something I thought was the right thing to do at the time. It's very heartwarming when people get in touch and I think, well, I have done at least one useful thing in my life.
Every year, around 52,000 men in the UK will be diagnosed with cancer of the prostate, a walnut-sized gland at the base of the bladder. More than 3/4 will survive at least a decade, but the trouble is too many men are being diagnosed once their cancer has spread. Prostate cancer mainly affects men over 50. A family history of the disease is another risk factor, and there's a much higher incidence among black men. Early prostate cancer doesn't usually have symptoms, but problems with peeing, needing to go more often, difficulty starting or stopping can be a sign. Pain in the back or hips or blood in the urine or semen are other warning signs. There's no single test for prostate cancer. Physical exams, scans and biopsies are all used. You may be offered a blood test. High levels of the protein PSA can indicate cancer, but it's not always reliable. In 2019, I reported from University College Hospital in London about a trial examining whether an MRI scan and PSA blood test could be used to diagnose those prostate cancers which are growing aggressively and need urgent treatment, as opposed to those which may never cause problems. If successful, within 5 years it could lead to a screening programme, a bit like those for breast and cervical cancer. Bill Turnbull's death will undoubtedly lead to another surge in men seeking answers for nagging symptoms, which they may have put off getting checked for months or even years. And it will hopefully save many more lives. Fergus Walsh, BBC News.
Well, let's pick up on some of those themes. I'm delighted to say, in the studio now, Laura Kirby from Prostate Cancer UK. Morning, Laura.
Morning.
And also with us is Carl Skinner. his daughter Lisa. Carl, diagnosed with prostate cancer after Lisa saw Bill talking about his own diagnosis here on Breakfast. So lovely to see you this morning.
Good morning.
You will appreciate this, Carl. Even while we've been on air this morning, Naga, who was looking through the Twitter, which, you know, people get in touch, saying that, did you know?
This is an email. No, this is just an email. RJW.
Got in touch saying this morning, going for his prostate check at 11 a.m. You know, just because it's watching this, hearing the stories again, and that was what happened with you, wasn't it?
It was, exactly. Well, Lisa picked up on it, seeing this programme with Bill talking of the subject, and I was in the same situation.
So, Lisa, just pick up the tail.
Yeah.
So, sometimes these conversations are not easy, which is part of the point of talking about it now, is it? There's a reluctance to talk about it. So, this is your dad you're talking to. You've seen Bill, something's in your head. What happens next?
Yeah, so I obviously saw the interview that Bill gave when he came out with his diagnosis so bravely, and the things that he said kind of resonated with me because Dad had complained about having to get up to go to the loo a few times. He was generally quite tired, aches and pains, and you know, Bill had highlighted these as symptoms, and I said, Dad, I was quite positive it was nothing, but I just said, please just go and get it checked out, go to your GP and let's just get it ruled out, and thank goodness he did.
What was the initial reaction? I mean, just talk, how was that conversation?
He's a typical man.
I'm very stubborn, actually.
Okay.
I said, I was like Bill, if truth be known.
So hold on, just go back and say, Lisa says this to you. Not an easy thing for a daughter to say to her dad. And what do you do? What happens?
Well, I just said, well, you make the appointment, and I will go.
Oh, well, that's positive, really.
He made me pick up the phone.
Yeah, because if you want me to go...
Holidays, like Bill said, holidays coming on, you know. I was 65 when I was diagnosed, so... and it took off from there, didn't it? We went to the doctors, and next thing, we're on a roll.
OK, for anyone who's watching, they will be hearing your story, Carl, as well, and it will have the same impact that someone will be thinking, could be me. What was it like? You went to the doctors, what happened?
Well, the doctor checked me out, of course.
You had a PSA test,
yes,
didn't you? And that raised flags.
I think the thing is, it's the embarrassment more than anything that worries gentlemen. You know, that's my opinion of it. But to be honest, there's nothing to be scared of. You know, I had my radiotherapy and I sailed through it. You just look on the table and it's a 10-minute thing, no pain, nothing. It's.
Can I just say, Lisa, understand the thing about how difficult it is to get your dad to talk.
Yes.
With the best will in the world. They're going to wring it out of you. But look, the point is, you sitting here now and being in that film, and, you know, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Even more so because you've said yourself, you know, it's not easy. You don't necessarily want to share these things. But what you're doing now really matters. You must be, I mean, main thing is happy because your dad's okay.
Yeah.
But you must be very proud of him for doing this.
I'm very proud of him, but I'm also extremely thankful to Bill.
Definitely,
you know, but for Bill coming forward when he did, which he didn't have to do because it was something that was so personal to him, really flagged the issue up and got the ball rolling. And what he's done is he's had such a snowball effect. The one thing that I remember him saying was that if he has an impact on one man's life, then his job was done. And he did so much more than that. You know, he's impacted on hundreds and thousands of people, saving lives. And it means that I get time to spend with my dad. He managed to walk me down the aisle last year. Just little things like that.
That's not a little thing.
Well,
it's a massive thing. It's life.
It is a massive
you get your dad.
thing. And, you know, my thoughts just go out to Bill's children and his wife.
Absolutely, yeah.
We have everything to thank him for.
We'll take a look at when you first met Bill in a moment, but I mean the point of this is to highlight the importance of getting this diagnosis. And you know, and Carl was very clear, a little bit embarrassed. It was absolutely fine. What was the Bill effect?
Oh, it was significant. Bill made a profound impact on raising awareness for prostate cancer. You know, he was so candid, so open, and I think we've heard so many tributes on him, on his warmth and his personality. And he used his broadcasting experience to really reach those messages and push them far and wide. And he had his diagnosis in 2017, and in 2018 there was a 20% increase in referrals into the NHS, which was massive. People coming forward, putting themselves forward after seeing the GP to get treatment. And of course, if we can find early diagnosis, then cancer is treatable. And so men getting early diagnosis is really important.
And that was one of the things that Bill drew attention to, the fact that he got his diagnosis later than would have been, would have meant that he could have had a successful outcome as yours, because it was just that much later.
Didn't he say he was really cross with himself because he was one of those people who was really proud that he hadn't seen a GP in 4 years, you know, and he hadn't needed to see a GP, and he was really cross about it.
I think, and I think that propelled him, didn't it, to really want to do something about it and make sure that other men didn't have to go through that terrible situation of having a terminal diagnosis or a late diagnosis. And so he really took that and, as I say, used his personality, his character, his broadcasting experience to push it far and wide. And getting men to talk is really important, and particularly getting men to understand their risk of prostate cancer and activating, doing something about that. So at Prostate Cancer UK, we have a risk checker, which is a very simple online 30-second tool which men can come along, and we appeal to men to come along and fill it in and find out whether they have risk. So that's men over the age of 50 or black men over the age of 45 or with family history. Please do check the website and take that checker.
Laura, very much in our thoughts this morning as we're celebrating Bill's life and talking about this amazing legacy is, of course, his family.
Of course.
You know, how they are right now. I don't know what contact you've had with them over time, but when did with Bill himself? Because, I mean, do you think they were aware of the impact? I'm sure they were, but I'm sincerely hoping that it's something that gives them great comfort, in this time. He
was relentless in his support of Prostate Cancer UK, and the last time we saw him, he did a quiz for us on Father's Day during the pandemic over Zoom. I think we raised about £10,000, which will all go towards vital research to help find solutions for prostate cancer. So he's just been a wonderful ambassador and a real loss for us, and our condolences go out to his family.
What was it like meeting him?
It was so nice to meet him, just to get the opportunity to say a big thank you. And very emotional, actually. One thing I'll say about Bill is that he was a real gentleman.
He was, definitely, yes, he was.
He was. A great broadcaster, clearly a family man. And just to add on top of that, the fact that he saved so many lives by speaking out when he did.
It's been great that you two have come on the sofa to honour Bill and talk about his legacy. And I'm so glad you're well. You're well, Carl, now.
I'm doing great, thank you.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well. Thank you. You do. Talk a bit more, maybe.
Probably right,
It's such a brave thing to do. So
No, absolutely.
No,
Do you know, everyone who's watching this morning will be thinking exactly the same thing. Do you know what? You did good.
Yeah,
really
absolutely.
Thank you.
Lisa, Carl, Laura, thank you very much as well. Find out what's happening where you are this morning. We'll see you shortly. Hello, you're watching Breakfast with Charlie State and Naga Munchetti.
Time now is 8:35. So, Bill Turnbull's family has described him as bringing warmth and humour into people's homes. So true. 15 years he was on this sofa, always trying to find the light amongst the dark of the stories we cover.
Now, Jane McCubbin has gone back through the archives. I think you'll enjoy this. She's bringing us Bill's best laugh-out-loud moments.
Just before the cameras went live, Bill would steady himself. And then he was ready to wake up the nation with a smile.
Wow, man, sounds like you know your way around women.
Carol, take it away with the weather, quickly. Oh, quick.
That's the biggest laugh I've had all week.
Good. OK, you are the world's biggest flirt, aren't you?
Wow.
I just celebrated my 20th anniversary recently. Don't spoil it, sir.
Hope your wife enjoy it when you get home, darling.
Nice.
Thank
you very much.
You two are fun. I like you.
This is the route that Bill took when he went through the studio doors onto the famous red sofa in the morning, past his own smiling face. He never knew exactly what he was going to walk into when he went through those doors in the morning, but we always knew that our morning news was in safe hands.
Well, funnily enough, it looks pretty dramatic, but it's not as bad as it was before.
What have you got to moan about, mate? It's lovely.
It's cold, mate. Oh, he's back. Hold the programme, I'm having my cup of tea. Order has been restored.
I know it hasn't, I can still hear it.
Harry, so you got to meet the great Bill Turnbull.
I did, yeah. Yeah, it was complete carnage. When we got the phone call, you know, would you like to come onto live TV and would you like to bring your 4-year-old son? It's like, okay.
I was running around the sofas.
And what was Bill doing?
He was just trying to keep himself together whilst we were trying to have a civilised chat.
What a lovely person he was, because he wouldn't have been as successful or as approachable or any of those things if he had, you know, he was just a really nice guy.
Happy with this angle? Everything? Tie, hair looking good? Pink.
This was news with warmth and humour and heart. Bill wasn't just a presenter, he was your friend.
Oh, absolutely. I think he was a friend to everyone, and he was incredibly smart, very funny, but he wore his intellect very lightly.
So, Professor, you seem like a pretty nice chap. I hope you are here ready to rap.
Was able to sort of make anyone feel comfortable and talk to anyone about anything.
On your head, instead. Nuff said?
You can't rap, you're whack and you got no flow. Stop it, Bill, please. You're embarrassing your co-host.
Oh,
brilliant.
Lovely, thank you.
Everyone sort of trusted Bill Turnbull, and this is how much I trusted him. I remember going around his house. We're in the kitchen, and he goes, "Have you got a dog?" And I say, "I do not have a dog." And he says, "Get a dog." And I say, "I will not get a dog, Bill." And he said to me, "A childhood for your kids is not a childhood without a dog." I didn't want a dog. Right, you ready?
Yes.
This is not my fault. This is the fault of Bill Turnbull. We're just talking about Uncle Bill.
Well, I'm delighted to say we can now speak to Susanna Reid, who, of course, morning to you, Susanna.
Morning.
Morning.
Lovely
this is where
to
it all
see you.
started here at Television Centre on
Well,
that BBC breakfast sofa.
I was just thinking exactly that. You must be. I know that is your home now for your broadcasting, but you must be thinking many was the time when you'd arrive there in the early hours of the morning and Bill would be turning up and you'd be doing a show together. What are your thoughts?
Well, you know what? That theme music that you had at the end of that tribute to Bill is absolutely perfect. You're the best, because he really was the best. He was the funniest, he was the kindest, he was the most supportive, and he was the most generous. And that's no disrespect to any of my other former and present TV husbands, including you, Charlie, but Bill really was the person who taught me everything. I met him
almost 30 years ago, about more than 25 years ago in Washington, D.C., when he was the BBC News Washington correspondent. And I was ever so intimidated by him because, you know, as we know, he was a stickler for detail and he had very exacting standards, but he was also incredibly supportive. I think everybody on the programme working there now would acknowledge he was a mentor. He gave excellent advice. You wanted to meet his high standards. And most of all, he was just great fun to work with. We did challenges with him, didn't we? We did Come Dine With Me for BBC Breakfast. We did, you know, we got on those crazy racing bikes without brakes and went hell for leather around the Manchester Velodrome. He threw himself into everything, but he also kept it all in perspective. He never took himself too seriously, even though he took the job incredibly seriously. It was only telly to him. He wanted it to be excellent television. He wanted to make sure everybody enjoyed it. But his priority was his home life and his wonderful, wonderful family. He was the best.
My recollection, Susanna, and we are mixing up real emotions here this morning with, frankly, a lot of fun. My recollection of that Come Dine With Me experience, which I think was in your house when Bill arrived and he caused chaos. Didn't he immediately smash? He smashed things, didn't he? Glasses or something? It all kicked off.
Yeah, he smashed a wine glass. But you might remember, Charlie, that after we did Come Dine With Me, he then replaced that one wine glass with a set of 6 beautiful wine glasses. He was just the perfect gentleman. And he was, as I say, incredibly generous. The other thing, you know, that tribute that you just ran reminded me of was how his dogs were such an important part of his life. And he was so welcoming at his home. When we all moved up to Salford, he invited me and my family, my children, to his home to spend the day with Ceci and the dogs. Now, my middle son at the time was absolutely petrified of any animals. We couldn't have a pet at home. He would be scared if there was a cat in the garden and he was literally sitting in the kitchen. And Bill very gently took that in hand and he encouraged my son to throw a ball for Bonnie, Bill's beloved black lab. And by the end of that day, my son had completely lost his fear of dogs. We were able to have a cat at home. He was like the child whisperer or the dog whisperer or Dr. Dolittle. I mean, he could converse with the animals. He was amazing. They were so important to him, and he wanted everybody to have that same experience.
You know, Susanna, sitting next to him was always an experience. It was a joy. But he was a really robust and rigorous journalist, above all, wasn't he? Who cared about the audience, and he never, ever forgot that.
No, and he wouldn't hold back from asking really tough questions. He interviewed some pretty tricky characters, and he was utterly firm and determined, while at the same time always remaining polite. And then he could switch from being the incisive interviewer to falling about laughing with someone like Kevin Hart, I remember on the programme, who just had him in absolute stitches. And there were, you'll remember this, Naga, there were times when you knew you were on the brink of perhaps having a bit of a giggle. But if you looked across and Bill was already laughing, there was going to be no stopping you. And it almost gave you license to let go, and having a giggle with Bill was as much about what he was to the viewers as doing those sharp, incisive journalistic interviews.
Susanna, we're remembering, obviously, we're paying tribute to Bill and we're remembering him. And you know, actually, the impact of Bill's prostate cancer diagnosis is living on. We've had people email in, you can imagine, and get in touch. Family was so important to him, wasn't it? I mean, that's the above all. We're doing this with the blessing of his family as well.
Yeah. His wife, Ceci, he was devoted to her. They had, I think, the strongest marriage I have seen in the business. And he was absolutely committed to his children. They were a wonderful family. incredibly supportive of him. They were so proud of him, and he was just endlessly proud of them. They were all welcoming to me. I've been in touch, obviously, with Ceci since the news, and with typical Grace, she's been incredibly generous to me since we've all heard the news of his death. And, you know, I hope I can take this opportunity, as I know you would have done, to just send my love to them. I can't imagine what life without Bill is going to be like for them. We know how hard it is going to be for viewers and for his fans and those of us who worked with him and loved him as a colleague, as a friend. And my heart goes out to his family. He was the best. He was the best.
It's very, very well said, Susanna. Can I just say, Bill would appreciate that your emotional tribute was being interrupted by some construction work in the background there. How very fitting.
Yes, he would. Do you know what? As we came on air, I thought exactly that. That's what happens in live broadcasting.
Embrace it. Always embrace it, Susanna. It's lovely talking to you. Thank you.
Exactly right. Lovely talking to you. Thank you.
8:45 is the time now.
Bill was a long-time Wycombe Wanderers fan. He supported the team for years. He even did a spot of match commentary for that beloved team.
A lot of love for him at that ground, and Mike is there for us this morning. I mean, for those that didn't know about his association with the Wycombe Wanderers, the tale you're telling today, Mike, it's a really special one.
Yes, good morning. I don't think there's another presenter broadcaster who's got such a close affinity with a football club as Bill has here with the team Wycombe at Adams Park in Buckinghamshire, because he started supporting the team when he was living nearby about 20 years ago, and he really has become the voice, the face of the club. In his spare time, he used to co-commentate for the website, and he's become personal, close friends with a lot of the players and the manager. Indeed, really having an impact on all structures of the club, right from the board down to the fans as well. Essentially, he was a fan, but so much more than that over the years. We can now speak to Gareth Ainsworth, the manager here now. You were playing at the time when you first met Bill. What was your first impression, and why do you think he had such a connection with the players and the manager?
I mean, he just loved football. He really did, and he loved Wycombe Wanderers. He made it his own. As you say, he did so many roles here. And I remember the first time meeting him, it was after a game. And he came over in his real English poshy way. Well done today. He was fantastic. He was really, really a top guy, and he made me feel so comfortable. And I'm like, oh my God, this is Bill Turnbull. And I could not believe it. And he was so humble to be in our presence, and it was just, you know, the mark of the man. He was all for the club, and what he's given this club is incredible. You know, he's put us on the map more than we are, and he was just a fantastic supporter. And we can see now how close you've become, because I know he came to his last home game here, a win over Sheffield Wednesday at the end of last season in April. And there was only one thing you had in mind at the end of the victory over Sheffield Wednesday, and that was to go up and see Bill. And a real spur of the moment thing. I wasn't told he was here. I was told he was here. I wasn't told where he was. And usually after the game, win, lose or draw, and it's better after a win, believe me. We do the lap of honour and we clap the fans. And I just saw him. I saw him in his chair in one of the boxes. So I had my Pat Cash or my Andy Murray more topical moment of getting up there. And there was only one thing I wanted to do, and it was just this flood of emotion that Bill's here. I need to go and see Bill. Such a big day for the club. You know, we'd almost made the playoffs, made that thing we'd always been working towards that season, and Bill was there, and to go up to him and see him and to see his face was just brilliant, you know. And I think Matt Bloomfield then followed me up a little bit later, and just those moments, you know, looking back now after we've lost Bill, I'm so pleased I did that, because it meant such a big thing to him and to me, and he will never be forgotten here. Absolutely, and staying in touch with him throughout his illness, even this season as well. You spoke to him just a few weeks ago. Yeah, we thought he'd last forever. Like I say, you know, he was fighting this so well, and when we found out about the prostate cancer, there was phone calls. There was before that, but there was more phone calls. There was talks. I remember after one Luton game, just really soon after we'd found out, I rang him just to say, that one's for you, Bill. And I think I heard Ceci in the background burst into tears, which gets me emotional, but it meant so much to Bill that the people of Wycombe Wanderers were there for him, because he'd always been there for us, and he felt like he was going to be around forever, and I wish I'd have called him the day before, like I've said, and but the memories that we've had and the joy that I think was mutually given to each other was something special and will never be forgotten.
Well, Gareth, we must let you go because you've got a match. Got to get up to Fleetwood when the players will be wearing black armbands on the pitch for that match at Fleetwood tomorrow. The legacy that Bill's left here is huge, and indeed the next home game, so that'll be a week tomorrow, here against Port Vale before that match, there'll be a huge celebration of Bill's life before the game kicks off. And if you need another reminder of how much Bill means to this club, just look at the big screen where they've got all the memories playing there this morning. And I tell you, it's really helped me actually over the last 24 hours being with so many people that knew Bill so well, had worked with him and been with him as a fan over the last 20 years to all share our memories and our celebration of Bill's life together.
Really great stories, Mike. It's been a delight hearing from people down there. So, you know, from us, thank you to the club for allowing you to be there and share some of their stories as well. It's been really lovely.
He was passionate about Wycombe Wanderers, obviously. He was also passionate about bees. You may not know this, he was a keen beekeeper. Some of you, though, may remember him talking about his love for them on this programme.
So here's the joy of an archive. We can go back in time now. So this is 2011. Bill goes to a primary school to tell the children all about his favourite little creatures.
Ah, the joy of bees. I've been keeping them for 10 years. I've got hundreds of thousands of them now. So here are some of my girls. Aren't they beautiful and in a good mood today? But bees around the world, of course, have got problems with disease and pesticides and colony collapse disorder. So we're always on the lookout for new beekeepers. And I think I might just have found some.
Excuse me, is this primary 6?
Yes! Ah, hello, my name's Bill and I'm from Breakfast on the BBC. Where are the children who've been writing to me? Here! All of you wrote me a letter, did you? Yes! Marvellous. And what do you want to know about? Bees! You want to know about the bees? Good, well that's what I've come to talk to you about today. Now, has anybody seen a bee yet here? Yeah. Okay. All of you see. How many bees were there? Just the one. Where was it? Where did it go? Don't take Bethan's fingers out with your trowel, though.
We've looked at trying to plant different areas around the school, different plants to that are bee friendly, that really attract the bees to the area and increase their population.
Here we go. Enid's going to open her magic box. Are you ready?
We're lucky at the moment. We can actually see the queen bee. Do you see her up the top there?
Local beekeeper Enid Brown's also been helping the children learn about bees.
See where they're different colours.
That is very new wax that they have made, and that's why it's so nice and light.
And they had some pretty tough questions for me too.
How many different types of bees are there in the world?
All I can tell you is there are lots. Hundreds of different types of bees, different types of honeybee, etc. That's a very good question. And when you have the answer, come back and tell me. All right.
I'm Aaron, and what makes the queen bee the queen bee?
Well, when the egg is laid, she's just a normal worker bee like all the others, but they give her extra nutrition, extra food, and it's called royal jelly. Who wants a helmet? Get the zip done up. There. Okay, good. So, now that you've heard all about it, how many of you want to become beekeepers? Me! My work is done.
He really enjoyed that as
well. That was an enthusiastic crowd.
Really lovely. 20,000, apparently, bee species in the world.
OK.
Yeah, apparently so. Nicola Bradbear is the director of the charity Bees for Development. Nicola, good morning to you. I guess you could confirm or deny that number?
More like 200,000.
Wow. OK. Oh, what, my goodness. OK, so no wonder Bill didn't know. Now, look, Bill was passionate about his bees, and he was a patron of the charity Bees for Development as well. What did he bring to this world?
So much. He was our patron for about 20 years. and he was completely interested in our work. Everywhere that we work with beekeepers in the poorest nations. He'd actually worked there himself as a journalist. So he was really understanding about what we do and really committed to it, and he was such a super help to us.
So in practical terms, I mean, do you know his journey into bees? How was it that he came to be so enthusiastic about them?
Well, he was a kind of typical beekeeper, just really fascinated by how clever bees are and how wonderful they are. And he wrote a book, The Bad Beekeepers Club, and he always said that he was a bad beekeeper, but actually that's because we all think we're bad beekeepers, especially when you're learning beekeeping. You think that whatever you do, actually they'd probably be better off if you left them on their own. And Bill was very perceptive to that and wrote this very funny book about being a bad beekeeper, but actually, as far as I could see, he was a very diligent and careful and good beekeeper.
Nicola, I'm loving your setup behind you. With the, you know, we can see the hives either side of you there.
Yes.
Have a lot more people come to beekeeping recently? Has there been much more interest lately?
Yes, it's wonderful. There's lots of young people now interested to do beekeeping, and Bill was great at helping us to make contact with them. Yes, it's really nice to see the great resurgence of interest in bees these days.
Do you know, the thing about having Bill as a patron, I can imagine just from things I never knew about Bill. I know he ran the London Marathon a few times, but once he ran it wearing a beekeeping suit.
Yes, he raised loads of money for us by running the marathon in his bee suit. Crazy.
Matters. And he also, did he get Sting on board? The singer Sting on board as your patron? How on earth did he do that?
Yes, he did. Well, that was Bill's magic, wasn't it? He thought Sting would be a super patron for us because of his name, of course, and because he also has bees. So Bill did his magic and somehow got Sting to become a patron, and lots of other wonderful people too. He was really a fabulous patron for us.
And whenever, I mean, we were talking earlier about the impact he'd had on prostate cancer awareness and charity as well. Was he still in contact with you in terms of just like, I think he did a Zoom quiz, didn't he? A Father's Day quiz for prostate cancer. What was he doing for you?
Yes, every year we had our quiz at the National Honey Show that Bill came along, and he sort of cajoled everybody into donating to our charity, and there was lots of leg pulling. Everybody loved Bill, and of course with his warmth he really enjoyed that evening with the beekeepers every year. It was quite a tradition, and we'll have to think hard how to commemorate him this year, next month.
Yeah, Nicola, I'm thinking you have your beekeeping suit on hand. What's on the agenda this morning? What happens next for you?
I actually go to the office because I run the charity Bees for Development, and so that's what I'm not actually doing some beekeeping this morning, just to show you the bees. And Bill was here. He saw all these beehives.
Well, thank you so much for showing us around. It's been delightful talking to you and sharing your enthusiasm, which Bill had as well. So nice talking to you.
This morning we've spoken to Susanna Reid, we've spoken to Sean Williams, who have both presented with Bill for a long time. Sean was their relationship was 11 years together. That's right. 11 years on the sofa, and you've also been sharing your memories of Bill and just what he meant to you. Jeanette sent this, because we spoke to Karen, Bill's partner, on Strictly when he took part. I think it was the third series he took part, maybe 2007. Anyway, Jeanette sent this. She said, "Until Bill took part in Strictly, my husband had refused to watch the series. But Bill's enthusiasm and sense of fun won my husband over, and he even started phoning in his votes for Bill." Of course. He just had that ability, didn't he, to touch people, make a difference.
And the other one, of course, is you do not have to look very far, and it's something we've very much tried to reflect this morning, is his campaigning about awareness of prostate cancer. We've said it over and over again. Even this morning, people are getting in touch saying, do you know what? I'm thinking about it now. I'm going to do it now. Still happening.
We are celebrating Bill's life unashamedly this morning on Breakfast. The time is now 8:59.
It's 8:59. Let's take you through some of the other main news stories this morning. The search is continuing for the gunman in the fatal shooting of 9-year-old Olivia Pratt-Corbell, as police release CCTV footage of the shooter fleeing the scene.
It's also been revealed that 2 guns were used in the attack, which took place in the Dovecot area of Liverpool 2 weeks ago. John Donnison has this report.
In Liverpool, tributes continue to be laid for Olivia Pratt-Corbell. It's 11 days since the 9-year-old was shot dead in the family home. And this is the man who police say killed her, using 2 guns and pictured on CCTV as he fled the scene.
We know this man is climbing through gardens and through people's backyards in order to avoid being identified, as well as using the roads, as you can see. Now, I know that there will be people shielding him and helping this man avoid being found by the police. If you're found doing this, then we will do everything legitimately possible to bring you to justice.
Detectives have also released footage of this man who was nearby on the night of the shooting and who they say might have important information. Police have been continuing to stand guard outside the house where Olivia died. The investigation is said to have made significant progress, but the killer, who police have described as toxic, is still at large. John Donnison, BBC News.
The Conservative Party leadership race has entered its final hours. Party members have until 5 o'clock today to vote for who they want to be their leader and, of course, the next Prime Minister.
Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak will have to wait until Monday for the result. Our political correspondent Helen Catt joins us now from Westminster. Helen, 12 hustings. It's taken quite a while, finally coming to an end to that result on Monday. How are things looking?
Yeah, these are the final hours of this contest, which started back in July. Started with MPs whittling down the candidates to just 2. Since then, it's been Conservative members who've been making up their minds. They will have to register their votes before 5 this evening. We will find out on Monday lunchtime whether it is Liz Truss or Rishi Sunak who will be the next Prime Minister. Consistently throughout this campaign, Liz Truss has polled well ahead of Rishi Sunak, so the expectation is that it's likely to be Liz Truss, although if you talk to Rishi Sunak supporters, they'll say he's gone down well in the hustings, but the expectation is that it will be Liz Truss, who was announced as Conservative leader on Monday and takes over as Prime Minister on Tuesday. And of course, would be walking into pretty large in-tray, top of which is the pressure to act very swiftly to help people, households and small businesses with those rising energy bills.
Helen, thanks very much.
Well, it's 2 minutes past 9. Ollie's on the sofa right now to tell us about a lot of money being spent.
A lot of money. It was a sort of a transfer frenzy on the final day of the transfer window. Deadline day, obviously, deadline window closed at 11 o'clock last night, and all the clubs were trying to get those last-minute signings in. That man behind you, he's smiling because he's back in the Premier League. 1.9 billion, not for him, but across the summer, was spent. Chelsea spent around 270 million. That's another record in a transfer window. Their final signing was only confirmed after midnight. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, that was, back in the Premier League. Just 6 months since he left Arsenal for Barcelona on a free transfer. Had a few disciplinary issues at the Gunners. He left under a cloud earlier this year. He did well at Barca, but they've got financial issues, so they had to let him go. The 33-year-old Gabon striker says he's got some unfinished business in the Premier League. Liverpool were another of the 14 Premier League clubs that made deadline day signings. They've brought in Artur Melo on loan from Juventus. He won't be available for tomorrow's Merseyside derby, though, but the Brazilian is going to provide extra cover in midfield. They've got a lot of injury worries at the moment, Liverpool, in that department. Well, the biggest deal to go through yesterday was for another Brazilian. This had been in the pipeline for a few days, but Antony has put pen to paper on his move to Manchester United from Ajax for £82 million. The 22-year-old winger is going to be reunited with his old manager, Erik ten Hag. Good day all round for United because they also got another win under their belts in the Premier League. 1-0 at struggling Leicester City. Jadon Sancho.
We defend with 11 and we attack with 11, and also there was a good fighting spirit on the pitch, and yeah, but we have to be good. We know that, and that's a good test to see where we are.
Tennis now. For the first time in 90-odd years, there are 4 British men in the third round at the US Open. Dan Evans and Cameron Norrie joining Andy Murray and Jack Draper in the last 32 in New York. Norrie is the British #1, the world #7. Well, he wasn't at his best. He managed to get past Portugal's Charles Sousa in straight sets. Norrie will play the 28th seed, Holger Rune, next. Dan Evans, who's seeded 20th in New York, beat Australia's James Duckworth in 4 sets. That sets up a meeting with the 15th seed, Marin Cilic. Rafa Nadal came from a set down to beat the Italian Fabio Fognini, but have a look at this. He also picked up a nasty bump on his nose. Looked fairly innocuous, but look, his racket sort of bounced back off the court. Yep, ouch. Onto the bridge of his nose. He said he thought he'd broken it, but he's going to have quite a big bump there for his next match. He is looking for his 3rd Grand Slam title of the year. If he does win it, he's probably going to have a big plaster on his nose to go with the trophy. Nasty, wasn't it?
Which all both just recoiled.
It's a little stinger, isn't it?
Ooh.
Yeah. Poor Rafa, but he won.
Yes. If ever there was someone who was able to recover from a situation like that, it's him.
Just a flesh wound.
It is that, isn't it?
Thanks very much. Let's talk to Matt, find out what's happening with the weather. Good to see you. Bit of sunshine up there.
There is indeed. Morning. Good to see you all as well. Yeah, lovely start to Friday for some. This is on the north coast of northeast England, on the east coast of the country, I should say. Different story, though, towards the west of the UK. This is in Northern Ireland just a short while ago. Rather grey skies. It's here where we could see a fair bit of rain as we go through this weekend. Why? Well, because you're all near to an area of low pressure, which is going to dominate the weather charts as we head through into the weekend. Here it is, developing areas of heavy and at times thundery rain revolving around it. Closer to you are to it, the windier conditions will be and the wetter things will be at times. But not everyone will see a huge amount of rain. It's the same today. Scattering of showers around at the moment, drifting northwards into the Midlands, 1 or 2 to the east of Scotland. But the rain will start to develop a bit more widely in the far west of Scotland and in some parts of Northern Ireland, especially to the east as we go through this afternoon. Showers also continuing on and off across the south of England and eventually into Wales. Very well scattered. Many places will avoid them. The vast majority will have a dry day today, and when the sun is out with you, it's actually going to feel quite warm. Temperatures in that southeasterly wind picking up widely to between around 17 and 26, maybe 27 degrees. A much more humid feel than we had through the past few days. And it's going to be quite a humid and muggy night tonight. Showers across some southern areas will fade, but they're going to continue in the west especially, where they could become pretty nasty to the east of Northern Ireland and parts of southwest Scotland. There is a risk of flooding here, in fact, as we go through into the weekend. Many places, though, will be dry to start Saturday. Look at the temperatures, 13 to around 15 or 16 degrees. A very warm start, but there's going to be further thundery rain around and it's going to be windy to the north and the west. Worth pointing out, though, not everyone will see the rain. Some eastern areas will see very little through this weekend and largely dry day to come here on Saturday. There'll be a few showers breaking out in Northern England, East Midlands towards East Anglia. They could come with the odd rumble of thunder. Wettest conditions southwest Scotland and across Northern Ireland, turning wetter too to parts of Wales and the southwest later in the day. Sunniest weather on Saturday will be the very far north of Scotland, but turning quite windy here. Warmest towards East Anglia in the southeast, 23 or 24 Celsius, maybe a little bit more for some. Now, as you go through Saturday night and into Sunday, there will be a strong strengthening wind across the north of Scotland and turning windier in around the Irish Sea and across Ireland, where we'll see more persistent rain to take us into Sunday. It could be a pretty wet day for some across the very far west. Some showery rain working northwards into Scotland, probably won't reach Shetland. And whilst we'll see a few showers break out in eastern parts of England, many will stay dry. Wet start in the west, as I said, but it will brighten up later. Quite a windy day on Sunday across the board. Strongest the winds in the north and the west, touching gale force for 1 or 2. And because it's that bit windier, probably won't feel quite as warm as it will do during the next few days, but temperatures still up a little bit on what we expect for early September. And Naga and Charlie, it's sunshine and thundery showers for next week too. Back to you both.
Yeah, you say it with a smile, but we do need the rain, so for many.
We do indeed.
Thanks, Matt. See you soon.
Enjoy your weekend.
You too.
We're back in just a moment. First, a last brief look at the headlines where you are.
So we're nearly at the end of this programme today, and I'll just say thank you. Thank you for sharing your tributes to Bill. And we've been honouring Bill's life, Bill Turnbull's life, of course, who is the gentleman of this sofa.
Yeah, it's been a delight for us, but very pleased to say I had a message during the morning, this morning, from Bill's family, from Ceci and Flora, his wife and daughter, who have been watching this morning, and they've said they've been moved and touched, especially loving seeing old clips of Bill in his prime. And there's been a lot to smile about this morning.
A lot of memories, and unashamedly, we are celebrating his life. Now, before we hand to Morning Live, just want to say a final farewell to our friend and colleague and take one last look at some of our cherished memories of him.
Hello and welcome to Breakfast from BBC News with Sian Williams and Bill Turnbull.
Hello and welcome to Breakfast with Kate Silverton, Susanna Reid, Louise Minchin, with Naga Manchetti and Bill Turnbull.
Romania is going back to work today, but things are not getting back to normal.
How bad are things?
The eye of the storm passed over a town called Vero Beach a couple of hours ago.
Bill, what are the problems facing the rescuers now?
So far, Andrew, the rescue operation has been dealing with the upper floors, which, as you may be able to see behind me, are more open.
We're in Canal Street, one of the central thoroughfares of downtown New Orleans. 4 more years. Barack Obama wins a second term as President of the United States. The games are about to begin. Welcome to our first special program from here in the Olympic Park. But you are just across the fence from Horse Guards Parade and the beach volleyball.
I can't actually see my bedroom.
Use a trampoline, just go over
my bedroom's up there, but there's no direct line of sight.
4 weeks ago, this area was home to 600 soldiers living in scores of tents with everything they needed for everyday life. Now, it's all gone.
What have you got to moan about, mate? It's lovely.
It's cold, mate.
Oh my goodness! Bill's on fire, man.
Just too sweet. Carol, take it away with the weather quickly. Oh.
Wow, man, sounds like you know your way around women.
Well, coaches, thanks very much indeed for joining us on Breakfast. Pink. Really important thing about this game is you've got to score more goals than the other side.
Come on, the Wickham, let's hear you.
Hopeless, actually, absolutely useless. There's a shot, and there's a goal!
So here are some of my girls. Aren't they beautiful and in a good mood today? Come on then, come on. Nina, come on. Thank you for letting me into your home in the morning, whether it's in the kitchen or the living room or, as I'm often told, the bedroom. And whether you've been with us for the past 15 years or just this morning, I hope you find it worthwhile. It certainly has been for me.
A beautiful, beautiful tribute there for Bill Gethin.
Oh, a lovely man. He's really funny.
Yeah.
I always remember being really funny. He was such a delight to wake up to and watch on BBC Breakfast. A brilliant man, brilliant career, and he will be missed. Coming up on Morning Live today, millions of Brits are feeling stressed, overwhelmed and increasingly hopeless in the face of rising household costs. Dr. Purnam explains how to cope with the pressure at the moment.
Plus, helping to ease the burden, Matt Allwright is bagging the best deals at the supermarket with his guide to yellow sticker shopping.
And cooking up a healthy tea time treat, Chef John Gregory Smith makes a speedy pea and feta pasta that will feed the family for a £5.
Hello and welcome to Friday's Morning Live.
It's the end of the week and we have got a packed show for you this morning. We were just reflecting there on Bill Turnbull with Dr. Purnam, Matt Allwright and John Gregory Smith with us this morning as well. Lovely to see you all. Dr. P, it was nice hearing his colleagues, past and present, talk about him. And we were just thinking, weren't we, what it must be like. What advice do you give to your patience, or in general for those who have lost a friend or a colleague at work when it comes to grief?
Grief is such a personal thing, and at times like this where you do hear of the passing of anyone, it can really trigger that, and we underestimate the power of being there for listening, talking and supporting. So if you do know somebody that might be struggling a bit, send them a message, give them a call, go round for a cup of tea and just be there.
Also, Bill was a very private man, but he was really happy to speak out about his diagnosis. And we were reading this morning, when Bill talked about his diagnosis back in 2018, referrals to the NHS increased by about 20%, according to Prostate Cancer UK. So, he's had a massive impact on other people's lives as well.
Well, coming up today, you might have seen social media adverts encouraging you to claim tax relief if you work from home during the pandemic. So in around 5 minutes, Rav Wilding meets the women who paid hundreds of pounds in commission after they unknowingly signed their rights away to a private company. We'll tell you what to look out for so it doesn't happen to you.
Yeah, it sounds really complicated, but the answer in the end is quite simple, as Rav will explain. Plus, it's been an amazing summer of sport across the BBC. Seen a lot of you on the telly.
Busy.
And the knockout tournaments keep coming. Tomorrow it's cricket's turn with the final of the 100. In 20 minutes, we talk to commentator Isha Guha to find out how the newest format of the game has really captured the imagination of non-cricket fans too.
It really, really has. And the competition to become the next Prime Minister is almost at an end. Liz Truss got us talking when she said she'd consider scrapping speed limits on the motorway. In half an hour, Mr Motivator finds out if the people of Manchester will give it the green light. And we want to know what you think too. So give us an email at morninglive@bbc.co.uk.
Interesting. Matt Allwright would be my Prime Minister, just so you know. But one man who loved keeping in touch with people was Charles Dickens. He wrote over 14,000 letters in his lifetime, and in a twist this week, more have gone on display to mark the occasion. In about 35 minutes' time, who else but Giles Brandreth takes a look at what the writer was like behind closed doors.
And nothing is off limits in Strictly Fitness because we're celebrating Kim going for the glitter ball this year. Katie McGlynn, she's been digging through those archives to find the other Morning Live faces that have taken part. And let's just say, some of the dances have been more successful than others.
All right.
Katie, remind us what we're looking for, or what we're looking at, I should say.